Hi, Billy.
Hey, Christine. Thanks for having me on.
Hello. Yeah, good morning. I see several people saying hi online. You should see. Yeah, okay. So yeah, Billy, thank you so much everyone for joining. So I have here Billy. I met him through LinkedIn. We got to know each other because I was on his episode and I like Billy, and so I invited him to my event too, my live stream. So Billy, why don't you know, I don't like to get anything wrong, so I'd rather the guests introduce themselves. So why don't you introduce yourself?
Sure. Well, first of all, thanks for the opportunity. I'm excited to be here. I have had a pretty interesting career in that it hasn't taken one single path. So I graduated with a film degree. So I thought I should probably go make a movie. So I did that. I made a film in my 20s, traveled all over the world, took the film to festivals in 4 continents. We won multiple awards. And ultimately, the film got picked up for distribution. It's on Amazon, Netflix, Walmart, you name it. And it was an amazing experience. But after 7 years from start to finish, I realized that I didn't make 7 years worth of income making an independent film. And so I had to pivot and find something else. And so I got into the renewable space, specifically solar. And that happened sort of by accident. My brother was in solar,
Mhm.
and I started working for a company, and I started as a salesperson and sort of moved up the ranks there, where I was manager, then a trainer, then I led training, then I led all of sales. And then I got recruited to go work at Solar City. And at Solar City, I also had multiple roles there. And so one of the things I did was I created a television show called Solar City TV, which was a chance for me to really stretch myself, but also use those creative muscles
Mhm.
and ideas that I had and the things that I love to do. That then led to me getting into training at Solar City. I led leadership development there and ended up leading all of sales training for Solar City, which, for anybody that knows, Solar City was bought by Tesla. And so that gave me the opportunity to work for Tesla. And so that was an amazing opportunity. I led onboarding, which was the new hire experience, essentially. Anytime anyone started at Tesla, my team was responsible for creating that experience. So we created something called Launch, which is to launch their career at Tesla. And then that led to another role, which was leading all of sales training and product training for Tesla. And I had that role until it was determined that my global role was no longer a role that the company wanted. So I actually exited the company the end of, or beginning of last year. And what an amazing run that I had. And I'm so grateful to have had all the opportunities. But Christine, what I'm most excited about now is that I finally get a chance to do what I've wanted to do from really my whole life, which is to be an entrepreneur. And so I started my
Mhm.
media company, and much like you, left corporate life, and I've had opportunities to go back, and I haven't wanted to be honest. And so now I have a podcast. My podcast is Inside Out, where we explore insights for incredible people and learn from their experiences. And then I have a new show which is called For the Love of Podcast, which is it's a podcast about podcasts, sort of meta. And really the idea there is to explore ideas that have helped other podcasters be successful and share that with the podcast community. And so I'm excited to be on your show today, and let's have a fun conversation, and looking forward to diving in.
Yeah, no, I love your story. Oh my God, you were in film? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I
So
know. It's
like yeah, wow. So in terms of like like the film, like what I mean, so I'm just curious more about that industry. So it's like
sure.
that's why I saw your video. You're actually you're good at that one, huh? Because you had that history. I didn't know about that. So okay, so tell me more. Like I'm really curious about your journey to entrepreneurship. Like, I always love this story. I really love it when people just go for it. They just follow their dreams, because there's a lot of I just find more people who are just not happy with their career in corporate world. Like, it's very few that I find who are really love being employees. And then
Mm,
so I really love it when I hear people just just follow their heart, their intuition, jump for it, because
yeah.
it's very scared. I mean, I have a girlfriend that actually wants to quit her job, but it's the same, it's those same fears going again. Like, I'm afraid, will I make enough money? Is this the right thing? Like, I'm losing the stuff. But I went through all of that myself too. And then, but oh my God, like, actually, when I was talking about that, I did a post, and then one of my friends who I talked to before I quit, he was one of the people I confided in. And he's like, yeah, I wish I could go back in time, show you this post that you're sharing, and then you'll see how successful you really are. So I was like, yeah, thank you. Like, I was just happy for that. I took the leap. It was the most fulfilling experience ever. So I want to hear about your journey. Like, when did that started?
Yeah.
Like, just, yeah, everything. Yeah. Mhm.
Sure, no, and it does surprise people because most people think of me as the solar guy or the Tesla guy or the podcast guy,
Mhm.
but yeah, it all started in an econ class in college, which I hated. I was a business major, and as a 18-year-old kid, you don't appreciate, or at least I didn't appreciate that. And I left my
Mhm.
business major and I started into film. I became a film major. It's funny because now I'd probably love
Mhm.
that econ class. I'd probably be all about that econ class. But as a kid, I wasn't ready to
Yeah.
learn about that stuff. It didn't interest me at the time. And
Mhm.
so I had made a film in high school that was just for an English class, no big deal, but it whet my appetite for the film idea of making movies and the idea of putting together a story and telling a story through a visual medium. And so when I graduated with a film degree, I thought, well, okay, I spent a lot of money on this film degree. I better go out and make a movie. And so what I did was I live in Los Angeles, but I actually relocated to New York and I wrote my screenplay. The name of the movie is Rolling, Rolling, and it's a movie about ecstasy, the drug, and it follows the lives of 8 ecstasy users over the course of a 24-hour period where they talk to the camera much like a documentary, but it's a fictional film. It's a narrative. So
Mhm.
they're telling their story to
Mhm.
the camera, but then intercut with that is really the storyline where it's all of these characters crossing paths over a 24-hour period at this warehouse party in downtown LA. And so
Mhm.
there is sort of a
Mhm.
subculture that exists because of electronic dance music. Obviously now is EDM,
Mhm.
everyone knows what that is, but in the early 2000s, which is when this movie is sort of based on, it was just starting to become more mainstream. And so
Mhm.
we marketed the film at all the different festivals, music festivals, and it got a bit of a following. I'll call it a cult following, and now millions of people have seen it because of obviously getting distribution, but because when it was released was the time when there was a lot of downloads. A lot of people have seen this movie for free, Pirate Bay and what have you, but also because it tapped into a culture that exists within our society of people that experimented with MDMA, also known as ecstasy. And so like I said, I got a chance to go to film festivals all over the world, which is an experience I wouldn't trade for anything because that is an amazing experience. And I still love the creative medium. I'm actually writing a screenplay, believe it or not, with my 8-year-old right now. So I still got my mind in the film business, but that's kind of the story. Obviously there's a lot more to it. It was 7 years of my life, but it was amazing learning experience. That's for sure.
But what about like so you went to corporate, Solar City, Tesla. Like, when did you start thinking about quitting your job? Because I know you went to industry,
Oh,
you went to Solar
right
City,
away.
then Tesla.
Yeah, right away. I mean,
How long were you in
look,
Solar City
here's
and
the
Tesla?
best
Yeah.
analogy I can give is I got on a wave that was like a tidal wave. And when I say that, what I mean is I was very fortunate. I got in early in solar. I had early success. I broke the record for most sales. I became a manager. I broke the record for most sales as a team. I got promoted over and over and over again. And I the wave that I was riding, it led me to one of the most important companies in Solar City, and then two, what I believe is the most important company in Tesla. And so I've always wanted to have an entrepreneurial endeavor that I was challenged to take on, but at the same time, I felt that I was a part of a company that was historical in Tesla. And so, in terms of leaving, my time had come. I moved within one layer from Elon Musk. And so, the company was going through a lot of cost cutting. And so my position, I had a global role. I had a team in Asia. I had a team in North America. I had a team in EMEA. And so, my position was no longer deemed necessary because there were leaders in each of those markets. And so could I have tried to find another role? Could I have gone to another corporate? I could have, but why? Why when I knew I was ready to take my next journey and start my next chapter, which is what I've done.
Oh, okay. So how long were you there though, in Solar City and Tesla before you quit?
4 years for those two.
Oh, okay, okay. So I guess like you're like after 4 years, you're done. You're like, I just want to quit. So how was what was? Go ahead.
No, nothing.
Oh, I thought you're saying so. What was it like? What was the trigger? Like did you had like a did you go for it? Like did you have an exit strategy, or it was like you're like, you know what? I'm tired of this. I'm like,
Yeah.
bye. I'm gonna like do a full-time entrepreneurship. So what was the trigger? When was it in the 4 years? I mean, like, did you slowly build your entrepreneurship? Like, and then what do you offer now as well
Mm.
as a? I know you're saying podcasting and stuff. So yeah. So
Sure. Well, what I'll say is, I thought about it for a long
mhm,
time before even starting Solar City, and so, but as far as
mm,
taking action, no, not really. I mean, I'd be lying if I told you I did, because the jobs that I had, they were challenging jobs. They required a lot of me. So I thought
mm,
of
yeah,
the things I wanted to do, but unlike
mhm,
you, which obviously I had a chance to interview you, you had a chance to kind of start your business and start to get some feelers. I know you put the pedal to the metal once you actually started, but I didn't have a chance to do that. And
mhm,
so, I made some missteps right out the gate. I'm super
mhm.
transparent because I've shared this all over LinkedIn. Like, I started day trading, big mistake, big mistake.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
Um,
everyone, he
yeah,
just said big mistake, so I do not like it as well, and I
it's
don't
it's just
encourage it.
and I'm not gonna lie, I had some money to see that if I had
Uh-huh.
enough money to start day trading, and I didn't lose everything, thankfully,
Yeah.
but I lost some money. I made a lot and I lost a lot.
Mhm.
Ultimately, it was a learning experience, but more
Yep.
than the learning experience, it just set me back about 6 months. So I didn't like I left in March of last year. Technically, it was a little bit before
Oh.
then. And
Oh,
then
earlier than me.
I know, yeah,
Yeah, I
exactly.
was in May. I left in May.
But you didn't make my mistake, right? You didn't go day trading right away. And so then in September of last year is when I started my
Uh,
podcast. And that's
oh,
really the
okay.
pivotal point that I see, because that's when I fell in love with podcasting. I love interviewing people. I love learning about people.
Oh,
I
okay.
love helping other people by sharing insights, ideas, concepts, things that will help other people be better at whatever they
Mhm.
choose to do in life. And so that's really where my heart is now, is how can I
Mhm.
unearth ideas and concepts that will help other people be
Mhm.
better.
Mhm. Okay. Okay, cool. So yeah, so podcasting, yeah, so tell me more about that. Like, I mean, so if anyone is interested to get into podcasting, what will be your advice? Like, how do
Mm,
they do it? I mean, like I mean, I restarted podcast, but it was more like, I used my live stream on the podcast. So it wasn't
sure.
like a new podcast. Like, I just thought, why not just use the audio so I can be there? But I'm still newbie. I have no idea so podcast. I'm still learning. So it's like
Yeah.
for people who want to start, like, what would you tell them, and then what's the mindset they want to get into, and then like how is that podcasting beneficial, and it's for what reasons will it be good for someone to start podcasting? Yeah.
Yeah. It's a great question. So the first thing I'd say, it's all about intention. So what is your intention
Mm-hmm.
starting a podcast? For example, if somebody's intention is I'm going to become the next Joe Rogan, I would tell them, or I would ask them, where are you starting out, right? Like, are you a comedian? Are you a famous person in some way? Have you written a New York Times best-selling book? You know, it is a slow grind to get a show to generate ad revenue. And
Mm-hmm.
so intention is really, really important. Is your intention to build a business around a podcast, or is your intention to use the podcast as a way to network, or as a way, or as a hobby? Is it a hobby, right? And that's okay. It's okay to have a podcast as a
Mm-hmm.
hobby. And regardless of
Mm-hmm.
what your intention is, I
Mm-hmm.
there to create a great podcast, it honestly, there are some building blocks that you need, but people think it's much harder than it is to create a good podcast. Now, what
Mm-hmm.
isn't what is very difficult is the generation of income from the podcast standalone, where you're going to have, hundreds of thousands of downloads to see any kind of significant income. And obviously, I had a job where I was paid fairly well, being a director at a large company. I have a fairly high ticket that I need to mark that I need to meet for my income. And so for me, I walked in knowing that ad revenue was not going to come in the first year or two. I mean, could it? Yes, but likely no. And so what I've built is a business around my podcast. And so I do offer services and coaching. And I also
Mhm.
have 2
Got
courses
it.
that I'm producing. So, I have a course on podcasting that's in the works. I have a course on LinkedIn that's in the works. I do leadership consulting and training and development consulting. I also have a publishing arm because I've actually published a book in the past as well. So I'm actually doing some book publishing consultancy work as well. So, the nice thing about a podcast is it can be a lead channel for me and for my business. And so
Mhm.
with my new show, For the Love of Podcast, obviously the intention there is to give as much as I can, right? I mean,
Mhm.
ultimately that's what any of these mediums are about. How can you give value? And that's the
Exactly.
key. That's the core. If you give value, people are going
Yeah.
to see that and you're going to be a trusted source. And
Yep.
the more
Yep.
you can give value, the more people will trust and want to work with you as a coach, as a consultant, to enrolling in
Mhm.
your courses, what have you. And so, yes, there are many, many ways that you could do this. And I'm just telling you my personal story, but there's
Mhm.
any number of ways you can build a business around a podcast without the podcast itself
Got
being the
it.
business. And I just think it's really important that people go in with their eyes wide open. Part of the reason I'm doing my new show is there's so many people who have these grandiose ideas of what it will be like, and
Mhm.
they're going to be rudely
Mhm.
saddened and awakened when they realize that's not the case.
Got it, got it. No, that's a good point, because then podcasts, I mean, unless you have ads and sponsorship, and then you won't make much money, right? So you have to kind of build it around that. But then I guess you can use it as a media, just like LinkedIn, any social media podcast. So how to earn people's like, trust, and know factor, right? And then like through that, and then they hear your voice. So actually, I'm listening to a podcast, and I'm like, I'm tempted to buy his course now, because like I a friend of mine referred me to his voice. I was like, he's teaching. I was like, oh, cool, I like this guy. So then I might want to buy his course, right? So yeah, no, that's a very good point. So okay, so let me read the comments. So someone asked, wait, someone asked, can you ask Billy to teach me to be an effective entrepreneur? Shamiso asking.
Yeah, well, I think what it comes down to is identifying who you are and what you stand for is the
Hmm.
first thing. And I'll be honest, that took a while for me. I mean, I left what I felt was my identity in corporate world and I've transitioned. And so I think it's really important to find out what your calling is, what your purpose is. Everyone has the it factor. Everyone has something that will allow them to shine, and helping yourself find that shine is kind of the most important thing. And so what is it that you want to offer the world, right? Like, do you have something, a skill or a domain expertise that you feel would be valuable to other people? And when you identify that and you feel great about it, right? You feel passionate about giving this knowledge, this wisdom to other people,
Hmm.
and then just give it. Don't give it halfway. Don't give
Hmm.
it like 20%. Give it all. Even if you have a course, even if you have something that you're charging people for, give it all in other ways, through LinkedIn, through Instagram, through a podcast. And you don't need to start your own podcast. You could be a guest on a podcast. And the more you give, the more that will come back to you. And so I think that's where it starts, is figure out who you are, what you stand for, and what you want to give, and then give unconditionally over and over and over again. And it's amazing that the doors that will open, the opportunities that will show up when that happens. Because I mean, I can't even keep up with the amount of direct messages I'm getting today. And I haven't been doing this long, but I mean, there's a lot of people out there who just need some help. And if you can give that help, and I've coached for free, and I've also obviously built a business around this where I'm charging people. And I no longer need to coach for free, but I started coaching for free because I wanted to learn. I wanted to understand, like, what are people's needs? How can I develop a coaching program that will help other people? And so I know that, not everyone has a long runway. And so I'm
Hmm.
cognizant of that and conscious of that. And so
Hmm.
figuring out how to blend building your business and becoming an entrepreneur with making sure that you have enough income to, survive, and to make sure
Hmm.
that you're not going to have any issues arise that you're not able to pay your bills. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that stress. And so I was
Hmm.
fortunate enough that I had some runway. And I recognize that not everyone has as long a runway
Yeah.
or any runway for that matter. And so you do have to figure out what Christine asked me a little bit ago was important, which is, did I do anything before I left? And I think that's a really important point, because if you can do things like start build your website, start to build your brand, start to identify all these things that I've just mentioned, do that before you leave your job, because then you'll be much better off once you do leave your job.
Yeah, do that, or you need to have like an income to sustain you while you build it, right? So like I know people who just like quit their job and then like they don't have much savings. They're like, oh, I'm gonna make a lot of money right away, and it's like then they're not comfortable with social media putting themselves out there, so they had to find a job later on part time. So don't do that. So do have a plan. Why wisely plan your exit. Okay. So tell me, like, when did you start in LinkedIn? So I know you said you quit in March. Like, when did you start just being
Oh,
very
great.
active on LinkedIn?
Great question. So
Yeah.
okay, there's two answers to that. First answer is I I got signed up for LinkedIn in 2007. Okay.
Mhm.
Did not use it for anything more than an online resume and maybe an occasional post. When
Yeah.
I say occasional, very occasional.
Yeah,
I started
yeah.
my podcast in
Yeah, yeah.
September. Then I would just self promote the podcast. Didn't get much engagement. It wasn't until the end of January of this year when I
Uh,
got a message from Lorena Acosta, who basically told
uh,
me that she posted something about my podcast, and it was getting like thousands and thousands of views, and it started like it woke me up. It's like I need to be doing more with LinkedIn. So it wasn't until February really of this year that I started getting active in LinkedIn, and my follower count has more than doubled. Obviously the engagement's much higher than it was, and what it comes down to is being active in the community and giving, right? Not just expecting other people to come and
mm,
promote my work or like my post,
mhm.
but
Yep.
actually the opposite. Like I want to promote other people's work. I want to like and comment on other people's posts. And so that's really what I think is the magic secret sauce of LinkedIn in a very small nutshell.
Got it. So how did Lorena found your podcast?
Uh good question. I don't know, but I know that she listened to an episode and she really liked it. It was somebody that I worked with at Tesla, who's this incredibly
Ah,
inspiring person. And
mm,
that's a really good question. I haven't asked her. I should ask her how she actually found it, if she'll remember that. But no, it's a great question. Of course, we've developed a friendship as a result, and I'm a huge supporter of her and her work. So yeah, I mean, I don't know how she found it, but I think that is a great question, because getting your podcast, if you do have a podcast, into people's uh, hands, so to speak, that's a great way for them to advocate for your work and to promote, the work
yeah.
that you're doing.
Exactly, exactly. No, no, that's really good. So it's like, yeah, because then people support you, especially you have high influencers like Lorena, so that can really kick you. So that's awesome. See, that like that wouldn't have happened if you didn't have a podcast, right? So she eventually heard you, and then so we just have to be keep being out there, right? So you knew Jay Abasi, right? He's
Yes.
from Tesla too. Oh, okay, okay. Because like I didn't know you guys knew each other. Of course, I saw like comment about it. You both know each other. I was like, oh, okay, then small world.
I, I'm a huge fan of Jay. I absolutely adore
Mhm.
him. He's an incredible human being, and I had the opportunity to work with him. We worked together on the training team, and he, when I first heard of him, my team kept on saying how amazing he was. So when I heard how amazing he was, I had to talk to him, and ultimately brought him into my organization, because he has that magical gift that you just rarely see. And
Mhm.
so we recruited him, frankly, from his manager role at Solar City, and then obviously stayed with us at Tesla. And so yeah,
Oh,
great human
wow.
being, and I'm a massive supporter of Jay and his work.
Yeah, and he quit his job too to be an entrepreneur, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna reach out to. I just tag him. I'm gonna reach out to him to for him to be my guest too. So
Yeah.
yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, Jay, I like Jay. He support my post, and then I also like his post. I see it as well on my feed. So cool. Okay, so with LinkedIn, so okay, so so now you said in January that's the time when you is that really clicking with you the power of LinkedIn. So then like So yeah, tell me if people like just started. So you said about giving value. I agree with that as well. So how do you differentiate between what to give for free and what to sell? Like
Mm,
people always ask that. It's like you give like so much, like why would they want to pay you if you keep giving so much free? So I do see that as a comment, like, and then they a lot of people struggle with this. Like, then what do you give out then? Like, how do you, like, if you give up so much, then why would they want to come to you? So it's like, how do you answer that question if someone asks you?
mm.
Hmm.
Well, it's kind of like when people were afraid that the playbook that we built at Tesla and Solar City, they were afraid that would get into the hands of our competitors. And I'm not a big believer in being afraid of that, because it's not the information that's valuable, it's what you do with it, and it's the accountability, and it's the action you take. And so the other piece is that if you give out information in drips over a long period of time through videos, posts, articles, things of that nature, it's a whole lot different than having one cohesive course that somebody can go through. And also, if your course has what I'll call actionable steps in it that help to propel whoever's taking the course and actually do what they're being trained on. Because I came from a training background, so I'm actually working on a course with Jay. I should probably make sure it's okay with him, but I guess the cat's out of the bag. So we're working on a course right now on LinkedIn, and the idea is it's not just a course that gives a bunch of information. It's a course that has action oriented steps that will help people
Mm.
actually implement what we're teaching them. And so information is only one part of the equation. Like if we gave our playbook out, that's only the information. It's not everything somebody needs to know, and it's not action, because the reality is I know how hard it is to get people to take action. When we train people, if we just give them the information, chances are they're not going to do it, right? And so
So they still need a coach, right? Regardless, like you can give everything for free, but they still don't implement it, right?
right. Well,
Sometimes.
that's why a coach is valuable. So we
Yeah.
have three. We're going to do it in like three different ways, but we're going to give people just the information if they want that with action steps, and then there'll be a group
Mhm.
coaching option, and then there'll be a one-on-one coaching option. And so different people respond
Mhm.
differently to different things. Like you, Christine,
Mhm.
you're absolutely a go-getter. You're like you learn something new, you're going to take action on, and you're going to do it. And that's just the type of person you are. I know you well enough to know that. The reality is not everyone has that. And it's not because
Yeah.
they're not hardworking. It's not because they're not motivated. It's not because they're not smart. It's
Mhm.
because they maybe lack the ability to prioritize their time in a way that will allow them to get the things they need to get done. And that's the distinction between people who are able to do it on their own and others that maybe need a little bit of help. Like there's some people who need help from somebody at the gym, right? They may be fit, but they
Mhm.
become fit because they work with a coach, or they work with a trainer that will help them. And so there's
Mhm.
nothing wrong with that. And so I think knowing yourself, knowing what type of person you are, will help to dictate what will be the
Exactly.
right way you're going to get the information you need, but then also apply that information.
Got it. Yeah, that's why I was a little hesitant at first to build my budget course, because then there's some people who can't afford my coaching, or they're just not ready, or to invest the amount of money and time. Then because then sometimes they will buy that course, but then like they don't know how to stick with it. So that's just my problem. Even when they do coaching with me, like the first 2 weeks they just get lost. Like, oh, they have to do this all the time, whatever, forever. So they still need that. You can give them the course how to do it, but a lot of them, in my experience, like they need the accountability partner, unless like you're very, very motivated. Again, like even like working out, whatever, sometimes I get lazy. I think with the COVID thing, I mean, I'm too lazy to do weights at home, but I try to just do jogging. But now like I'm missing my weight training, because like, I wish I had a gym to do weights, because like I get bored doing that at home, right?
Yeah.
So and you have to be very, very motivated, right? So if you have a coach, then at least they push you and stuff like that. So and then sometimes you just have a blind spot. You just, I mean, they tell you to do this, but then you don't know, right? So that's, like, coach is there to actually guide you and show you your blind spot. So
That's
I
so
value coach,
true.
and then the right coach.
The blind spot
Hmm.
piece is so true. I mean, the two things. One, when you say yes to one thing, you're by default saying no to something else. There's something that's
Hmm.
going to drop off. So if you're saying yes to jogging, maybe you're saying no to weight training. I'm just making, whatever.
Hmm.
You can
Hmm.
apply it to anything. And the other piece, you likely have blind spots. Even the most self-aware people on the
Hmm.
planet still have blind spots. And even if they may kind of know some of the things that they have opportunities,
Hmm.
they may need somebody else to really zero in on it and point it out, right? And so I there's certain things that I know But once I hear somebody else say it, it brings it home. And I think we have to be open to inviting
Mhm.
other people to give us feedback.
Mhm.
That's true self-awareness, is not just being able to
Mhm.
reflect and like say I'm self-aware because you're reflecting and you're looking inward.
Yep.
True
Yep.
self-awareness happens because you are comfortable getting input and feedback from other people. And you have to
Yeah.
be relentless in your pursuit for
Yep.
feedback. You have to be
Yep.
so addicted to feedback that you ask everybody you know for feedback,
Yeah.
and especially the people that you value and you know will tell you
Yeah.
the truth. And that's
Yeah.
honestly, that is one of the biggest secrets to success that I found in other people that have been really successful in their careers is they have armor that allows them to not let feedback crush their feelings and make them sad
Ego.
and you know what I mean? Like they can take it.
The
They
ego.
can take it.
Yeah. Yeah. Mhm. Cool, cool. Yeah. Looking at the comments. So Abdul said, "I lost 50 pounds with no trainer." Wow, great job, Abdul. So tell us what you did. That's
Exactly.
good. He's obviously one of the motivated people here to lose like that. That's very, very hard. I mean, like even some people can lose 10 pounds. So okay, Jared said, "I like the idea of giving out enough to build interest and again later to increase demand. Same with investing to run, capitalizing on the midpoint after market saturation." Yep, yep. Yeah, no, I love Billy how your I just love your perspective around not being afraid to give a lot, and then about competition, like there's just more than enough, and then like and I think like like you built your personal brand. It's like that's what personal brand is for. Like why would someone pick you over all the other LinkedIn coaches, right? Why would someone pick me over other financial coaches, right? Like it's your personal brand. Like I think one time I made it. I was thinking about something because I'm moving to Vegas in a few months. So I said, and then I see a lot of YouTube videos about people talking about their life in Vegas, Henderson, because I've been trying to like just get a sense. So like it's actually good views if you know what you're doing. I'm like, yeah, maybe I'll do that once I move to Vegas. Just like do a blog about my life in Vegas. And then someone told me, why would someone watch your videos when there's so many other videos already? I'm like, because that's coming from my perspective. That's coming from my view. I mean, that's me. That's me sharing my view, my life. Like, and then that's why people. So I was like, when they said that, I was like, don't you know the value of personal brand? That's what it is about. And then people liking you for you. So anyway, okay. I thought I just have to
No,
share
no,
that
I
up.
mean it's 100%, and
Yeah.
I'll just say that
Mhm.
because people have gotten to know you, and it's not just business for you. I mean, you talk about your dogs, right? You talk about your life. You're not afraid to show the personal
Mhm.
side of you, which is so endearing and which makes people really like you and also trust you. And that's really what it's all about. And as far as the brand situation goes, I understand having insecurity, doubt, or uncertainty about a personal brand. Because as I said, I was the training guy, I was the leadership development guy, I was maybe the filmmaker guy before all of that. So how does that guy become the LinkedIn podcasting guy? Well, I don't claim to be an expert, and I never
Mhm.
will, because I'm a learner first. And I think fundamentally
Mhm.
people relate to being a learner more than being an expert. And so if I could share what I've
Mhm.
learned, even if it maybe is early in my journey, I know that I've learned more than somebody that's just starting out, right? And so I
Mhm.
focus my energy and effort on helping people that are starting their journey, meaning people that are just beginning like I did not too long ago. It's actually, if you think about it, Christine, it's still fresh in my mind, right? And so I'm not
Mhm.
I haven't been podcasting for 15 years or 10 years or even 5 years, right? And so I still remember what it's fresh, what it's like to do my first show, what it's like to do my first 10 shows, my first 20 shows, 30 shows, and so forth. And so I have it still fresh in my mind. And so I never ever try to be something that I'm not. And I don't think anyone on this call or anyone period should do that. Like, don't pretend to be anything you're not. I'm a learner. I've learned
Mhm.
podcasting. I'm still learning about podcasting. I'm a
Yep.
learner of LinkedIn. I'm still learning about LinkedIn. But that
Yeah.
doesn't mean, just because I'm a learner doesn't mean I can't also be a teacher, right?
Yep.
And so,
Exactly. I
yeah,
love that. I love that. Yeah, because then then even like people from Vegas, what I see, they don't really claim they're an expert. They're just sharing their life, so that it's very relatable. It's like, oh, is that how it is in Vegas? Like moving there, they're just sharing the simple stuff. I was like, wow, that's cool. Yeah, that. Yeah, I just love like that's also being you're also being what do you call this? was that you're not cocky and saying, "Oh, I'm an expert. I have nothing to learn." So if you're always coming from a place that you're learning every day, and you're just sharing, I think that's awesome. That's coming from a very humble perspective.
Thank
Okay,
you.
so Abdul said, "I stopped sodas and do what I call commercial exercise."
Well, I lost 45 pounds as well. So the way I did it
Uh-huh.
was intermittent
Okay.
fasting and keto. So, and
Oh,
also
okay.
part of keto is no sugar. So yeah, the sodas, those are
Uh-huh.
killers. Stop with the sodas, everyone. It's just not worth it. I love a Coke as much as the next person, but it's just not worth it. Okay. Every now and then I'll crack a Coke, but no, it's just not worth it. I'm still, I
Uh,
mean, I've managed to keep most
uh,
of it off with the whole lockdown. I gained about 15 pounds. I've since lost about 7. So I have another maybe 7 or 8 to go. But point being
uh,
is for me, it was skipping meals, specifically skipping breakfast, and then every now and then skipping dinner. And some may say, well, that's not what you should do. Well, why? Do what's right. I
oh.
mean, do what's right for
Yeah, yeah,
you. I mean, sure, the
exactly.
cereal
Yep.
companies, they want you to eat cereal every day. I think cereal's a
It's not healthy.
personally, it's a scam, if you ask me.
Like, yeah, healthy, yeah, organic. And I'm like, did you teach people how to read the ingredients? I'm like, yeah, cool. So how long it took you to lose that weight? Congratulations,
Not
by the way.
long.
That.
Not long. So
Oh,
I was about
wow.
205 at my highest, and I got down to 158. So yeah. So what's that? Yeah.
158.
Yeah. So about 50,
Wow.
so or 47 pounds. So it took me honestly not long at all. Like I lost
How
probably
long?
the first 20, 30 of that in like 6 weeks, 7 weeks. It was short. I lost a lot of weight quickly. And so I was very
Oh.
strict keto. I was only keto for about 6 weeks, but the way I kept it off is intermittent fasting, meaning like breakfast. I'll eat a breakfast like today. I'm actually going to have brunch after this. I'm going to have a little breakfast. I don't have breakfast every day though, right? So it's still early, not early, but it's 11 in the morning. So I'll have a late breakfast, a brunch here, but I don't eat breakfast any
Oh.
day of the
Mhm,
week. And then I'll have lunch, and then
mhm,
occasionally I'll skip dinner. For me that works because it's just
mhm,
less overall calories, and then also watching how much
mhm,
per meal. And I eat pretty
mhm.
much what I want. I just eat
Yep.
less of what I want. I think the biggest
Exactly.
problem people have with food is quantity of food. It's not
Yep.
that what you're eating. Yeah,
Exactly.
what you're eating. Yeah, that's important. Don't get me wrong. And you could,
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
plant-based diet's
Yeah.
great. I think
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
whole
Yeah.
food-based diet is the best. Whole foods that
Mhm,
aren't processed,
mhm,
that you can see that food grew from the ground,
mhm, mhm,
or it's in some way it's a whole food. And I think
mhm.
some meats okay here and there. I'm not a huge fan of meats overall, but I think some perhaps are okay. I just think back to what did people do thousands and thousands of years ago? Sure, they caught some fish. Maybe they got an animal here and there, but it wasn't like the mainstay of their diet. And so I just try to follow that diet. I'm not perfect about it, right? And not at all. Probably why I lost the weight.
Mhm.
And then bread is a huge problem because it's processed, and
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
eating all this bread and all these carbs. It
Yep.
just
Yep.
your body is using those carbohydrates as
Yep.
fuel, as energy, and then all your fat just stays on your body, right? And so I'm
Mhm.
not a diet. Please don't take this as any advice from a doctor.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is only my
Yeah. He
personal
just
experience.
again, Billy's just sharing his experience. Okay.
I'm just sharing my experience. But the whole foods piece, and then
Yeah.
beyond the whole foods piece, is just
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
eating as much. That's really the simple
Yep. Yep.
answer.
So you got to kickstart the I mean 6 weeks you lost all of that, and that was mainly just from changing your diet,
Mhm.
not from did
Oh
you add any working out and
no,
stuff?
no.
Really?
The exercise, in my opinion, okay, it's important for fitness, for health, for endurance, for
But not
strength,
for losing weight.
for de-stressing. There are a
Yeah, yeah.
million benefits for working out, and I'm a huge proponent of walking, of low impact exercise, of swimming, of activity, playing sports, things of that nature. But, and this is the big but, I did not find that activity alone
Yeah.
was the answer to losing weight. I think it's like maybe
Yep.
85, 90% of the weight loss, if not more, is because of diet. Now, again, exercise is going to give you the ability to have less stress. It's going to give you your overall health, heart health, and all these other things that I mentioned, just general tone and fitness. That's what you get from
Yep.
working out. And yes, calories in, calories out if
Yep.
you expend enough calories, but how hard is it to expend
Mhm.
all the calories you're eating? If you eat a ton, yeah, you got to work out
Mhm.
like crazy. And I just don't think it's realistic. It's all about sustainability. What can you do that's sustainable in your life?
Exactly. No, I hear you. Like I one time I lost 20 pounds. It was all from diet alone. I wasn't even working out. Of course, I gained them back, but I'm gonna have to lose. So yeah, but yeah, no, but then yeah, exercise doesn't. And then, like, I try so hard to, like, tell someone, like, you have to watch your diet. But sometimes, like, they just, people don't, if they don't want to lose weight, they don't want to lose weight. But it really boils down to what you're eating. And then some people just
Yeah.
love
Well,
food
I
and they're
mean,
like,
the
yeah,
80-20 rule
yeah,
is so, sorry. The 80-20 rule, I think,
yeah, good.
applies to so many things in life, like diets, like 80% diet, 20%
Mhm,
exercise and fitness, right? And even LinkedIn, it's like,
mhm.
if you're going to promote yourself, like, make that
Yes,
the
yes,
small amount, like 20% of what you
yes,
do,
yes,
80%
yes. I love
is
that. Yeah,
giving. You know what I
yeah.
mean? And,
Yep,
and
yep.
like, give
Yeah, yep,
more, comment more.
yep,
That's the thing that
yep,
people
yep.
are doing. They're not commenting enough on other people's stuff. Like, you got to comment on
Yeah,
other.
they just like, I'm like, no, engage. Like even me, I don't see people who react on my posts unless I really go through all those. But you don't notice them, so you have to
No.
comment. If you're gonna build a relationship with the poster, comment on it. Like, show up. And then it's not just for it's not just for you. It's a public comment. People will see that. If you put valuable comment, people will start noticing you too. So you have to show up. You don't be a silent lurker. Well, unless you just want to be a silent
Yeah, unless
consumer.
that's
So that's up to
but
you.
what I'll add is, and it's not. Here's the thing: find your you. When I say that, if you're in
Mhm,
fitness, for example, or
mhm,
wellness, or mindfulness, or
mhm,
podcasting, or whatever,
mhm,
finance, find
mhm,
somebody on the
mhm,
platform who already has a following, who is putting out
mhm,
posts regarding or involving your field of interest, domain expert thing, something that you're interested in, and then engage in
mhm,
their work, meaning
mhm,
comment on their comments and comment on other people's comments, and do this
mhm,
relentlessly to the point where
mhm,
they're like they think you're their biggest fan, and to a certain degree you are their biggest fan.
mhm,
Along with that, begin to build and develop relationships with the other people that are commenting on that person's posts. Because what happens, like, they're already posting comments and liking already. And so what happens when you do that is you start to build a tribe and a network of like-minded people, of people who are also interested, of people who are active on the platform. And so the more you can do that, and you don't just need to find one you, maybe there's five yous, maybe there's five people who you admire on the platform, and then relentlessly comment and become involved in their community by sending invitations to the people that are commenting on their work, and a personalized
mhm,
invitation that says that you like their comment, and then also
mhm,
comment with them, have a
mhm.
conversation with them in the comments. And
Yep,
this is how you start to
exactly.
build a
Yeah,
community, again, of people
exactly.
that also like the types of posts that you're going to be putting out.
Okay. All right. Someone has asked a good question. Wait, where's my mouse? Okay, so Doris from Facebook asks, "How do you know who to accept as a contact on LinkedIn?
Mm,
I'm always skeptical when I don't know them." So I have my own answer to this, but what do you think, Billy?
sure. Well, the simple answer is there's no reason why you wouldn't want to connect with everyone, in my opinion, unless, and this is a big unless, you are allergic to sales oriented, heavy, hardcore selling where they're going to try to sell you out the gate. And I hate to generalize, but the Bitcoin Forex community that exists, they are relentless with trying to pitch their business opportunity, which is you investing in their Bitcoin operation. And nothing against Bitcoin or Forex or the people that are trying to make a living. I get it. You're just trying to make a living. The problem is there's just too many people going too nuts with this on LinkedIn. It's its own
Yeah,
epidemic.
yeah,
It's a LinkedIn
yeah,
epidemic. So
yeah.
and I even accept them, because to me, any contact is a good contact. You never know who they might introduce you to. And that's
Exactly,
really the
exactly.
reality of it. If
Yeah,
people are
yeah.
going to the effort to connect with you,
Mhm, mhm,
then I think it's a potential new opportunity of potentially huge potential, right? Like you have somebody that connects with you. Maybe they themselves aren't the one that's going to give you an opportunity, but maybe they know somebody that will give you an opportunity, or maybe they know somebody that needs
mhm,
your services or needs your product. So
mhm. Yep,
excuse me. So
yep.
I just think that, LinkedIn
Yep.
is a opportunity to expand a
Mhm.
network, a global network. It's a
Mhm.
global networking event that never closes. It's like
Exactly.
Vegas. It's open
Exactly. 20,
24/7,
yes, yes. Oh, like
always
Vegas.
happening.
Someone
And so
told me,
why
yeah, you
why
can
not,
be anytime.
take advantage of that? But I'm curious, what do you think, Christine?
Yeah, yeah, I was gonna answer that. Yeah, so I do accept everyone, like you said, like because the thing is that LinkedIn for me is the professional platform. On Facebook, I'm more picky now who I accept as a friend because, like, I was starting to get annoyed because Facebook for me is primarily personal, and I do share business stuff too, but it's not. I'm not gonna make it my business platform. Like some coaches tell me, business coach tell me, yeah, you sell on your personal page. That's how most people, sell. I was like, no, that's why on LinkedIn. So I accept everyone. So you just don't know, like, this person from whatever third world country. Some people like, I don't accept people from third world countries because they will never be my clients, whatever. They can't pay me, but I accept them because I don't know who they're connected to. And then if they engage on my posts, they constantly support me. And also because, like, the point is that they're very supportive of my posts, even though they dislike something, they don't comment, but some do comment. But if I'm sleeping, they're awake in their time zone and they keep engaging, my post will remain alive for a longer time. So it
Mm.
continuously overnight while I'm sleeping. That's very important to me because, like, if they continue engaging, my posts keep continue being alive, then I'll continue to have more reach. And then reach is so important. And then people, like, I've seen coaches say that, oh, likes and reach doesn't matter. I'm like, I don't know what they're talking about. Don't you understand what reach means? That's why you're on social media, so you can have more reach, because then you can talk to more people, you can have more impact. So reach is very, very important. So
Oh,
that's my 2 cents.
I so agree with you. And you brought
Yeah.
up the engagement piece. And also, I just believe
Mhm.
it's not always about how much you're
Mhm.
going to get, like, from a financial perspective from someone. It's not always
Mhm.
about what you're
Mhm.
going to get from someone. It could be that what you're giving to
Mhm.
that person is what matters,
Mhm.
because you're going to learn by giving. You're going to learn by providing value to other people. And just because somebody might live in a place where they're not afforded the income to provide to pay for your services, in my opinion, doesn't mean that you shouldn't accept their request. I just, it's just,
Definitely.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
always been that way though, off platform as well. I always have big parties and I invite everybody. That's just the way
Yeah.
I operate. And I don't want to disclude
Yeah.
somebody and say that they're not worthy
Yeah.
somehow
Yeah.
because of the geographic
Yeah.
region that they live in. It just
Yeah.
doesn't make sense
Yeah.
to me.
No, no. Yeah, no, these people are like, they've been trained by this coach who says that, like, the comment engagement are not, doesn't matter. And then, like, both of them doesn't really have very good engagement. So I don't know what she's claiming. She's making 5 digit. I don't know, whatever. Okay, so Ileana said, when you make different connections, how do you get to know them? How much info of you do you give out?
Okay, so when you make different connections, how do you get to know them? Okay, so the first way I get to know them is by looking at their profile, because
Mm-hmm.
ultimately that is their business card with
Mm-hmm.
benefits. It gives you everything about them. Do they post? Do they not post? Do they comment? Do they not comment? What's their
Mm-hmm.
about section say? Look at their picture, obviously. Look at their banner and see what's their banner, and like all of these things are going to give you intel, and it gives you a sense of
Mm-hmm.
who they are. But then beyond that, start
Mm-hmm.
with the direct message. Like, you can have a pretty good, healthy conversation through direct message.
Mm-hmm.
And what I would
Mm-hmm.
suggest is make it human. Nobody wants a formulaic copy and paste where you copy and paste the same thing to everybody you're
Yeah.
DMing. Like, nobody wants that. So after you've looked at their profile,
Mm-hmm.
comment. Like, I have that I love ramen. So I get comments, I get DMs all the time. Oh, you love ramen? I love ramen too. That's just an example, right? So if you could pick
Mm-hmm.
something personal or something funny,
Mm-hmm.
I love infusing humor into the direct message. It makes you a human when you use humor,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so,
Yeah.
point
Yeah.
being is you have this conversation, and much like you
Mm-hmm.
would if you were talking to the person face to face. Don't
Yep.
just have a conversation like you're typing to a computer. It's supposed to be another person. I know there's fake accounts and bots and all these things, but just assume it's a real person until for
Mhm,
whatever reason you've
mhm,
determined it's not. And
mhm,
then once you get to know this person, the other part of it is you can start to engage in their posts. You can start to comment
mhm,
on the work that they do. And
yep,
that just further enhances your relationship. And the more that grows, then
mhm,
if it seems like a person who you want to take it to the next level, Then you could have a face-to-face meeting, right? Maybe you schedule 30 minutes and you have a call
Yep.
with them on
Yep.
Zoom. I suggest having a call on Zoom
Mhm.
where you can see them face to
Mhm.
face,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Phone calls are
Exactly.
great,
I
but you
love
have
that.
to see the
I
people
don't like
face to
phone
face.
calls. I don't.
Yeah, no,
Yep.
I'm with you.
Yep.
I'm with
But
you because the face to face,
mhm.
you see the mannerisms,
Yeah.
you see all
Yep.
the nuance, and you get to know
Mhm.
the person. And so once that's
Mhm.
happened, that's when you build a real relationship. It goes from being a connection to being a
Mhm.
relationship. And that's what you
Mhm.
should be focused on. It's not how many connections you have, it's how many relationships you've built. And
Mhm. Yep.
relationships are built not because you say, yes, I accept your connection request, or yes, they accepted my connection request. It happens because you care about the other person enough to know about them, to know what they've done for a living, to know what types of posts they do, to know what they care about, what they value. And then as you know all those things, you then can build a relationship by sharing all those things about yourself and connect with them. And that is how you build a following
Mhm.
on this platform, by building relationships. And it
Yep.
takes
Yep.
time. It's not going to happen overnight, right? I'm still doing it.
Exactly.
I'm not claiming I'm at the finish line, not even close. I have a long way to go. But I do think I
Mhm.
have the fundamental building blocks of how to do it. And that's why
Mhm.
I'm helping other people.
Yep, yep. Yeah, I started being very active in October 2019, and then I didn't start getting continuous clients till January of this year, to be honest with you. So no, I mean, so you can't come on the platform and expect, oh, I got clients gonna come to me, show up. No, you have to build your personal brand. You have to come with a mindset. It will take time. You need. Oh, I like to tell people you need to build that relationship with LinkedIn. Okay,
Yeah.
so what does that mean? That means that, do you even enjoy being on the platform? Does it give you a good feeling? So, and you have to pick the social media platform that you like. Some people like Instagram, so they thrive on Instagram. I don't know, like I'm not thriving on Instagram yet. So I don't know what to do. So LinkedIn, like it just clicked with me. So that's why I'm successful in LinkedIn, because I don't know, it just makes sense to me for some reason. Like I started being October, I was like, oh, this is how that works. I'm like, oh, I get it. I get it. It just clicked. It just clicked. Like other platform, Instagram, like it just don't click. I just repurpose my content to Instagram, but I still don't get it. But some
Yeah.
people, they just get it. They're like, yeah, Instagram is so fun or whatever. It's like, and then like I had Jade Vincent from TikTok here, right,
Mhm.
on my live stream, like I think a week ago. So she's thriving on TikTok because like that's her passion, to dance. And then it just clicked with her. So you have to find the platform that works for you, what you love. That's why. And can you get a good relationship from? Because if you have a love hate, you're like, "Ugh, I hate, like, whatever." Then don't build that platform. Find another platform. Like I don't get Twitter. I'm not on Twitter. So Facebook, like I like Facebook with just personal stuff. So I have different relationship with different platforms. So you need to pick what platform will work for you. Again, okay, we're always talking about what works for you in terms of food, what works for you. So you have to know what
That's right.
works for you. Nobody's gonna tell you. They can only tell you their opinion, what has worked for them. End of the day, you have to decide, what's best for you, what works for you, what makes you happy. So it's all you. No one can do that for you. Okay?
And it,
Yeah.
and yes, I agree
Oh, go ahead.
100%. And I think the other piece to that is
Hmm.
knowing yourself well enough to know where your strengths are. And this is a really key
Hmm.
point and a great thing to remember when you're building a business.
Hmm.
Building a business on your own 100% is very, very hard. And so
Hmm.
if you have the means and the ability, you can allow certain parts of your business
Hmm.
to be to welcome collaboration. So if you're not great at Instagram, but you're great at
Hmm.
LinkedIn, maybe your heavy influences on LinkedIn, maybe you get some
Hmm.
people that are great at Instagram to help. Maybe they help with content, maybe
Yep.
they help to repurpose content, maybe they help to manage your account.
Hmm.
Obviously this
Hmm.
comes with, you have to have the means to do this, but there are
Yep. Yep.
tons of people. You go to platforms
Yep.
like Fiverr
Yep.
and Upwork and other places,
Yep.
there are
Yep.
tons
Yep.
of
Yep.
people who'd be more than happy to help
Hmm. Yep.
you build your other platforms. And this is something that I'm
Yep.
actively working on because I can only do so much myself. I'm only one human
Yeah.
being and I put a lot of pressure on myself.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
you know, I'm sorry, I just read this comment. I know Billy and Elon Musk or Tesla. That's funny. um,
Well, who said that?
so
Oh. Oh.
somebody asked about, do you share personal information? I just want to quickly give
Yeah.
an answer to
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
If
One second. Okay. Okay, yeah, I think this one, right? Yeah. Wait, let me
It's up a
just
little
find it
bit.
for
It
you.
was,
Yeah,
do you,
yeah. Would you divulge into marriage and
yeah,
family
yeah,
life
and
if they ask?
this is a really good question. So I've
Uh,
gotten a little bit of heat from my family because I'm very open and I share a lot. And I think you got to do what's comfortable for you,
yeah,
and also be
exactly.
thoughtful and mindful of giving any specifics that could compromise your family. And
Yeah.
I do think it's important to remember that yes, your stuff is you're putting out there as public. The reality
Yes.
is there's so much public stuff out there already.
Exactly.
If
Yeah.
people really wanted to find information about you, they could find it. So I think do what's right for you, be thoughtful and be mindful about sharing things that, could ultimately compromise the safety of your family and your own well-being. That being said, I do think that people want to get to know you as a human being and they want to get to know the personal human side of you.
Mhm.
And so I do
Exactly.
think there's a certain amount of just faith that you have to have
Yep.
in humanity, that if you share
Mhm.
yourself and you share yourself as a good, caring, giving person, that will shine through. And I just believe that that will allow you to
Mhm.
thrive and to be the type of person that others will want to surround themselves with. And so,
Mhm.
but yeah, I mean, Christine, about your earlier thought, being you and understanding you is so
Yep.
important. And don't
Yep.
try to do it all
Yep.
yourself.
Yep. Yeah. Elizabeth is on. Oh, hi, Elizabeth. You share
Hey,
what's comfortable for you. Jared, I found that you have to be comfortable with being you, failures and all. Yep, yep. And then you're right. I think all of us, it's such a basic human need. Like we just want connection. And how do you connect? You have to show your human side too. You can't just talk business, business, business. I mean, like, okay, then it's like that's not. I mean, like, I don't know. Maybe if you're really good at that, they only care about that. They don't really care about you. But then you can win more people if you actually show more of your vulnerable side. So okay, let me see that. Let me look at the comments. I thought someone asked a comment. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, so okay, let's talk about your okay, it's almost an hour. So maybe let's talk more about your leadership and development, and then we'll end that, and then you can talk about how
mhm,
people can find you after.
sure. Yeah. And so for
Mhm,
leadership, I mean, I had a chance as a director to be a leader, and that's how I learned
mhm,
leadership. I was a manager in restaurants and things of that nature, but it wasn't until I directed a film that I really learned what leadership was. And leadership's about empowering other people to perform at their best. And
mhm,
so I've had the opportunity to lead teams of hundreds of people. I've had opportunity to lead teams of the elite people within a company. When I led training, sales training, I had the best
mhm,
people on my teams, right? Like the Jay Abbasis of the world, right? And I was very fortunate to work with so many incredibly talented people. And so when it comes
mhm,
down to leadership, I think the question you have to ask yourself is, are you doing the things necessary that others will want to follow you? Because leadership doesn't happen because you have a title. Leadership happens because of your actions. And so
mhm,
people want to follow people because of two things: because of the decisions you make and because of the interactions you have. And so the decisions you make and the interactions you have are going to be foundational to the respect and trust that other people have of you. And if you go back evolutionarily speaking, think about the fact that people want to follow people into the wilderness if they trust that person is going to make a good decision. And if they trust that person has
mhm,
my best interests at heart. And so when you are
mhm,
a leader, it doesn't mean that you
mhm,
have a fancy title. It means that you make great decisions and then you have really positive interactions with the people that you meet. And so for me in my leadership development work that I do, I work with leaders who have the ability to lead, but maybe have made some missteps
mhm,
and maybe are curious about how to have a greater followership. And when I say followership, what I mean by that is people want to be around this person. And so I work with leaders directly, but I also coach and develop leaders for organizations. And so, for example, people bring me into organizations and I give a few different talks that I have. I have one on the magic of surprise and the element of surprise. That's more customer experience. But I have another one on followership and really understanding what it takes. And so I help leaders understand the nuances of how to do the things that I've just outlined. And
mhm,
so the cool thing is that it's the leaders in companies that really make the company because they're the ones that create the DNA of the company through by the people that they
Mm,
hire and the culture that they build. And so when they hire
mm,
amazing people and they build incredible culture, those are the companies that others want to work for and are attracted to. And so I'm a huge believer in the power of what a leader can do to design a culture
mhm,
that attracts the right types of people. And so,
mhm,
yeah, for me, I always strived to be humble. I don't ever try to claim to have all the answers and surround myself with really, really smart people. I was never worried about having people that were smarter than me on my team, much like I'm not worried about having a student or somebody that I'm coaching that is smarter than me. I don't claim to be the smartest person. I think when I think of great leaders, they're ones that aren't worried or intimidated about the people they bring into their organization. They want to collect and find the best people that they can.
mhm. Or your competitor too, right? You're not, 'cause you can learn from them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So why don't you tell people how they can find you? Because we're already at the hour.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Well, first, connect with me. I mean, I just send me a connection request on LinkedIn. That is the easiest way for us to get to know each other. So send me a connection request. Let
Mhm,
me know that you heard the live here today if we're not already connected. Aside from that, I do have a few platforms and programs. I have an 8-week podcasting
mhm, mhm,
coaching program, which will walk you through A to Z, how to start, build, launch your podcast, and get those first downloads and start to really gain some momentum to really get a strong start with your podcast. I also do the same thing for LinkedIn. Very similar. It's an 8-week program where I walk you through A to Z and give you all the building blocks, everything that I've learned painstakingly by trial and error. I walk you through each of those building blocks. And then I do have my website, billysamoa.com, which you're welcome to check out. I'm still adding tons of content to that website. And then again, you can find me on all the other platforms, YouTube, Billy Samoa Saleebey. Same thing with Instagram, Twitter, just my full name, Billy Samoa Saleebey. So I do
mhm.
welcome meeting each of you that have been on this program today. And I'm excited that I had the opportunity to share. I'm still learning. So if you have ideas, any feedback for me, I already mentioned that I love feedback. So I always welcome it. If it's feedback on anything, I always welcome feedback and I embrace it as a gift because that's what feedback is. And if we could all create this culture where we're always asking for feedback, think about how much better we'll all get as a result.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much for ending that. So, Billy, I'll just stay on after this. So, thank you so much, everyone, for joining and then staying the whole hour. I really appreciate you all. And thank you, Billy, for joining. So,
Oh, it's
have a
been my
great
pleasure.
Saturday, everyone. Okay, bye
See you
bye.
guys.